Welcome back, folks, to 360 Sports Network. Like the smell of 3-day-old turkey in the fridge and mashed potatoes that's been maybe hacked into too many times. Yes, this is our special show called Enough is Enough. I'm Greg, the mad scientist, the show, and with me tonight on Enough is Enough, and too much is too much. We have Alex Laverson and James Dodson. Gentlemen, how are you?
I'm good. I'm still a little stuffed from all the leftovers I had these past few days. But, NFL season we still have a lot of time left. Still a little frustrated with a lot of things going on. But overall, I can't complain.
Hey, it's been nice having a little bit of a break from reality during the Thanksgiving holidays, but I'll tell you what, you come back to reality and you realize the same thing over and over again. There's too many things that are wrong with sports, and that's why we're here to talk about them, Greg.
Oh, yeah, just like the aroma of 3-day-old turkey in the NFL, we've got a whole range of topics, ranging from did Ndamukong Suh really kick Matt Schaub in the stones? And why are fed-up Cowboy fans petitioning to President Obama to remove Jerry Jones? Enough is enough. All right, James, let's go on the first order of business.
Well, let us start with, as you mentioned, Ndamukong Suh. It started, well, it really didn't start, but everything really came to fruition last year on Thanksgiving, where he got ejected for stomping on an opposing Green Bay player. Now, exactly a year later, on the Thanksgiving Day game again, he goes, and as he's being hauled down by an offensive lineman, he appears to deliberately take a swing with his leg and connect in the groinal area of quarterback Matt Schaub. Now, everybody immediately is coming out and saying that this was a deliberate attack, a deliberate kick, and that he should be fined, suspended, the whole 9 yards. NFL has come out and said, no, he will not be suspended for this foul. However, a fine is still possible. I want to hear what Alex has to say on this, because I know he's not the biggest Ndamukong Suh fan out there. Was this intentional? What do you think about this?
Well, you look at it, his head's turned the other way. I mean, when you're falling, you really have enough time to think to yourself, well, I'm going to kick Matt Schaub in the groin. But just because of his bad history, it automatically brings into question, was it intentional? And if it was someone else who, I don't know, Brent Kiesel, who doesn't have this kind of history, I'm more likely to believe that he wasn't trying to hit him there. So you can't really prove it. And from first glance, at least in my eyes, it doesn't seem intentional, but you just kind of have that gut feeling knowing Ndamukong Suh, there's a good chance it could be intentional. So I guess my whole thing with it is I am so torn between the middle. I might even just let it go, surprisingly.
It almost sounds like, Alex, you're saying Ndamukong Suh has issues.
Either way, it's not like beyond a reasonable doubt or anything. I might just let the whole thing go.
And I think this is what really just kind of galls me right now, guys. It's the fact that we're still talking about it, almost a week after the thing has happened. I mean, my goodness gracious. Okay, the guy got caught up in a game last year. He stomped on somebody's hand. Oh, my God. He's got anger issues. The big thing right now, and this probably plays in Ndamukong Suh's favor, is the fact that he is just a mediocre at best linebacker. But everybody's looking at him as like he's some mentally defective thug out there who just can't wait to kick somebody in the stones. You know what? Maybe this is going to help him a little bit, because really, this guy is nothing really that special. And the fact that he's got everybody talking about him right now, it's sort of the P.T. Barnum effect the way I see it.
Well, here's the thing. The NFL players have voted Ndamukong Suh as the league's dirtiest player, big whoop, whatever. The fact of the matter is, he, kind of like a Hines Ward from a few years ago, is so different. He's so physical at his position where nobody else is that everybody just assumes it to be dirty. And I'll tell you what, if I were to throw one of you two boys onto your face being tackled, there's no way that you're going to be able to intentionally direct a kick anywhere near my vicinity. Nevertheless, actually connect in a very delicate area. But let me just say this, because, Alex, you made up a good point. If this wasn't Ndamukong Suh, we probably wouldn't even be talking about this right now. And this is where I think the big issue of all this comes about. Because somebody has a history, everything is assumed to be that much worse. I look at it with Ed Reed. He's had a couple of hits to the head that weren't terrible, but it's been consistent. He has another one that really didn't look egregious at all, and he got suspended for a game. Now, granted, the suspension got lifted in the end, but I'm getting sick and tired of making points out of repeat offenders. I think everybody should be treated the same and penalized the same way, whether it's your first time or not. Otherwise, it's like, oh, you know what? I can get away with kicking Matt Schaub in the groin the first time because I won't get suspended the first time. It's only the second or third time when I will get suspended.
I mean, I don't necessarily know about that, because if you treat everyone like it is the first time, if you don't increase the fines, if you're disciplining a player, if it's his fourth, fifth, or sixth time, I think you do have to do something different. But like in this particular case, we can't know for sure if he did try and kick him in the stones or not. You know, let's say he did admit this. Yeah, I think he should be punished more severely than someone who did something like this the first time. But the whole issue is we don't know. If I knew he did it, if he potentially did it, I might even suspend him the rest of the year. But since I don't know, I just feel like if we take any action against him, you know, we could be making a big mistake here.
Oh, and here's something else to consider, guys. I played goalie in indoor soccer back in the day, and I remember a guy shooting a ball, and it got by me, but it was going wide, and he was going to have a wide-open net. I didn't intentionally do it. My body just naturally did it. My legs flung around and intentionally tripped him up so that he couldn't get a clean shot on goal. Did I purposely go and kick him to trip him up? No, absolutely not. It was like the instinct and just the natural reaction of what ended up happening based off of the way I was diving and the way he went. Could something like that have happened? And if so, why don't people think of it that way?
Well, the way I see this, and you know, you've got a guy that might be a few pounds lighter than I am, 6'5", 300-some pound lineman. We ain't graceful. You know, these things happen. You know, and until Subway basically pulls their sponsorship, you know, pulls him from their ads, Ndamukong Suh, all right, he's just an average lineman out there who happens to have a Subway contract. Enough is enough. Our next segment on Enough is Enough, the mutual fan admiration of Jamal Charles to Peyton Manning. What gives? Dotson.
All right. People make too much of this in my mind. I absolutely am in love, actually, with the camaraderie between players. And I know that everybody out there is going to say, no, these professional athletes, these guys who go out there and are trying to rip each other's heads off, that there's no place for them to be being friends and lovey-dovey and all that sort of thing. No, they aren't that way. They have a mutual respect for one another. Jamal Charles realizes that he just played a game against arguably the best quarterback in the history of the National Football League. And it wasn't until an hour after the game that he goes and asks Peyton Manning for his autograph. I have no problem with this. Maybe he wanted the autograph for his kid. Maybe his kid wanted it. Maybe his mom wanted it. Who knows? But all I can say is this guy has a respect for Peyton Manning, knows what a great player he is, and wants to be a part of that. I have no problem with this.
I mean, it's not like we know Jamal Charles is going to take that autograph home, you know, say to his family, whoever's there, oh my gosh, look, I got autographed by Peyton Manning. He could really just be giving it to someone else. And even if it's not like it's the worst thing someone can do. Oh my gosh, I got an autograph from someone. I agree with that, but I think this is way overblown. I mean, I do think it's kind of, I don't want to say weird, but kind of like, okay, whatever. But that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't think it's that big a deal.
Well, this is just one of those things, like 3-day-old turkey. It just kind of creeps me out. Yeah, okay. I can understand the logic behind it. But, my God, you're a professional athlete. Have a sense of decorum about yourself.
That would be the only thing, just because, it's after a loss, if it's
Yeah, I mean, especially, you just played the guy, your team loses, you're basically saying, oh my God, my team sucks, you're the greatest. No, it's like, that's the way it comes across. The way I see things here, guys, I see things from a pure fan perspective. If you are a member of a team that's on a field and you are a professional football player being paid to do your job, he puts his pants on the exact same way you put your pants on, okay? That's fine. The people that should be calling up or lining up for autographs should be the fans out in the stands. Should be the little 13-year-old boy that might need a liver transplant. Somebody out there that's needy, somebody out there that can really benefit from this, something that's good PR. This is not good PR for anybody. When Jamal Charles goes and begs Peyton Manning for an autograph. It just does not bode well for the sport. Hey.
Now, would it have been different, Greg, if the Chiefs had won the game? Would it have been a big difference if it was the winning team asking for the autograph of somebody from the losing team?
Winning or losing does not make this any better. Okay? If the Chiefs won and they lost, no, it still doesn't make it better because it's cheapening the game.
All right, let me give you two other examples then, Greg, and tell me if you feel the same way about it. Example number one, the Summer Olympics last year, after Team USA absolutely killed Tunisia by like 50 points, all the Tunisian players took off their shoes and asked for various members of Team USA to sign them. Do you have a problem with that?
Yes, I do.
This is the dream team that they're playing against, and some of these Tunisian players, I mean, they wouldn't even make it on college rosters in the U.S.
I have a problem with that because they're representing the country of Tunisia. They are their sole representatives. They may suck. Who cares? But they are the sole bearers of their country's honor. I mean, when you're on that stage, act like you belong on that stage. Don't act like a starstruck kid.
Alex, any issues on your end with that one?
I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't think it's wrong. I just do your job and that's it. But I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, here's the thing. Those are your idols. You know you're not going to win. I mean, I think there's a little bit of a difference there versus what you have in the NFL, where anybody can win on any different day. But let me ask you this other one, also actually from the Olympic Games this past year. Oscar Pistorius, the double amputee who was running the 400-meter dash, in the semifinal heat, I think it was, he ended up finishing next to last. And the guy who won the heat and ended up winning the gold medal, Karani James, he goes right up to Pistorius and offers trading of the name bags, which is like the which essentially would be like asking for an autograph when it comes to in like NFL or in basketball. The trading of the badges is a mutual respect. Do you have any problem with that one?
And something like that, in a mutual respect, that's not a problem. That's just good sportsmanship.
See, I have no difference in my mind between the trading of badges and saying, look, you're a great player, you're awesome, can I get your autograph? I don't see any difference in that. Maybe that's just me.
This is how I would phrase that with the whole autograph thing. I just think it's cheesy. I think that would be sum up my thoughts best. Not wrong, but really cheesy.
Yeah, and that's basically what I'm trying to get at. It's like it's time to take the cheese out of the sport, so to speak. I hate to put it that way because it's a bad food reference, but the the exchange of a badge is not an autograph. It's not. It's basically a tip of the hat. It's like, hey, you're the man. You're cool. You're good. You're on the same level with me. Okay, not. Oh, can I get my? I mean, you're looking at a person going from a dominant to submissive type situation here. Where Jamal Charles automatically he's made himself a submissive person by basically going to Peyton Manning asking him for an autograph. Oh, Jamal Charles is one of the better runners, better rushers in the league. Okay, for somebody to look at him as some sort of submissive person wanting to get an autograph, that just kind of makes the whole team look kind of crappy in a lot of people's eyes. If that's something he really wanted, now on the same token, let's say that he had a badge or he had something that he gave to Peyton Manning, like, hey, you're the man, okay, and he exalts him. It's like a high five or a fist pump or something like that. That's cool. Because what that does is it doesn't have a dominant submissive type situation. They're both recognizing each other as professional athletes on the field, and they're both basically giving each other, quote, an attaboy, so to speak.
Well, and you see that like in soccer matches where players exchange jerseys after a game, that sort of thing. I mean, if you want to talk about getting rid of cheese in sports, you could go and talk about what is truly good sportsmanship in the end. Is shaking hands after a game where you just fought each other. Like in hockey matches, you literally are getting to fisticuffs with players over a 7-game series, and then at the end you shake each other's hands like nothing ever happened. Is that appropriate, or would it be better if everybody just skated their separate ways? Was it appropriate when Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas exchanged a kiss before every game that they played against each other, and then went out and fought their battles out on the court? Is that appropriate? I think you can make an argument about lots of this being cheesy, whether it be Swiss American or provolone.
I don't know.
All right. Our next topic, and probably the biggest topic going on right now in terms of getting the cheese out of professional sports, having enough is enough, dealing with the quarterback in the NFL. And the biggest part of it, I think, deals with the protection of quarterbacks, not just with the penalties on the field, but in terms of benching your starting quarterback. We're seeing it major league in San Francisco, where everybody claims that you cannot bench your starting quarterback, Alex Smith, because it will ruin his confidence. It'll hurt his psyche, all this garbage, and saying that because of that, you need to go with the quarterback that you've had in the past. And I don't know if I agree with that. What do you guys think?
Well, obviously, people don't remember what happened in Pittsburgh when Bobby Brister was quarterback. He got benched on a regular basis. When it comes right down to it, you're a professional athlete. You either got it or you don't. If you don't have it and somebody else has it, they're going to take it.
Yeah, this is a business. You got to be a grown-up. This is more than a game. For the fans, it's just a game, but for the players, coaches, people getting paid from this, it really is more than a game. You're talking about millions of dollars. You're talking about betting lines, gambling. There's so much going into this, and I think, does it hurt your quarterback's confidence? I'm sure it does. And in a way, I understand you don't want to shake their confidence. You don't have to, but sometimes things are inevitable. If you know this quarterback is going to give you a bigger chance to win, a better chance to win the football game, you got to put him in. You can't worry about your quarterback having his feelings hurt because that's out of your control. By putting your feelings in front of that, by worrying if his feelings are going to get hurt, you're putting the team secondary. You're not giving your team the best chance to win, or at least you're not trying to anyway. So immediately come to mind, Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick. Alex Smith has been through so much since coming into the league, and you should know by now that this kind of things happen, especially to him. And I think if you're Jim Harbaugh, you do ride the hot hand, at least for a while, and if it doesn't work out, hey, we need to go back to Alex Smith. remember, Alex, they were trying to court Peyton Manning last offseason, right? So he's used to this. I just think at the point, I think he's so numb to it, or at least he should be so numb to it now, it's not going to make a difference.
See, for many years, Alex Smith was almost looked upon as a joke in the NFL. He was almost looked upon as one of the biggest busts besides Jamarcus Russell. But in Alex Smith's defense, every year that he was there, he had a new offensive coordinator or another coach. This is a guy that basically, I think, got to know so many different systems. I mean, he could go anywhere in the NFL and probably fit in because he knows all the different offensive schemes that are out there because of the fact that he had so many different coaches. Alex Smith was basically taught to be a game manager. Don't screw up. Don't fumble. Don't throw the INT or the pick six. Okay, just keep it safe. Alex Smith started to do well under Harbaugh's regime. Yeah, and we started to see him taking the necessary steps to become, I think, a better than average quarterback. He's never been a great quarterback, but all of a sudden now he gets knocked out of the game because of a concussion, and Kaepernick comes in. And Kaepernick is a true talent. This is a guy that's got flashes of brilliance right off the bat. He's got a hot hand. He manages the game, and he's got some panache to it. So, I mean, we're basically not comparing apples to apples here. We're looking at somebody here that's a lot more substantive as a quarterback under Kaepernick, and he's younger and he's more durable. So yeah, let's see what this cat can do. Yeah, I think
here's what bothers me. Here's what bothers me, guys. Why is this quarterback position so different than any other position? The quarterback and the kicker more than anything. You pull your starting quarterback, his confidence is shaken. He'll never be the same again, so they say. You pull your kicker after he misses a couple field goals and you try somebody different. He'll never kick for you again. He'll never have the confidence. There is no difference. You are a football player no matter what. I don't care if you're the quarterback, the so-called leader of the team. I don't care if you're the kicker in the most pressure-packed position. You are no different than if a running back has a bad game and fumbles a couple times, that you hold him out on the field. That's the way I look at it. You can't treat him any differently. Heck, if you can go running back by committee, I say you can go quarterback by committee without any difference on your team.
My argument against that would be is that the quarterback touches the football every play of every game, usually. They do have a bigger say, I think, in the outcome of a game. They're the glamour position. They're the most looked upon. Would you say a quarterback has more say in the outcome of a game than a punter?
Not necessarily. I've seen many games that were won and lost by the punter, especially in games that are run by someone like an Alex Smith, where he manages the game, and then the punter, who averages 55 yards per punt, is pinning him down inside the 10-yard line every time.
Are you going to build your franchise on a quarterback or a punter?
Like you said, I would put it more on the quarterback because he's going to touch it more often in the game. But that's the only thing, though. You need all facets to be good. Obviously, I'm not going to choose my first-round pick on a punter, because a quarterback, the elite quarterback, I guess I should say, is more rare than, say, an elite punter. A punter and a kicker, to me, are a dime a dozen. I can get a lot more people who can put it through the uprights, but you can say that either way.
Going back to your point, though, about quarterback by committee or a running back by committee, teams that run a running back by committee normally don't do as well as a team that basically has a starting guy that's the main person. And what happens is when you start doing a quarterback by committee, that kind of messes your receivers up a little bit because, as we saw very easily, what happened against Cleveland, between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, the receivers were not in sync with Charlie Batch. And when we took a look at when Leftwich was quarterbacking the game prior to that against Baltimore, once again, the receivers were not fully in sync with Leftwich. And as a result, we got some really bizarre-looking plays. And it was interesting to note, too, that the reps weren't there between the second team and the first team with a lot of the stuff that was going on. Going back,
you just said it right there. You said it right there, the reps. If you plan for having a dual quarterback system, both quarterbacks are getting the reps with your receivers and your running backs, that makes that argument pretty much null and void because you're going to have the reps.
Not necessarily, because, once again, you can't have one person for one package and one person for another package. It goes back to that whole wildcat philosophy, which will never work, only because the fact that it basically creates a schizoid type of team. There's going to be one, you've got to have a true leader there at quarterback. The quarterback is your field general there on the offense. He's the guy that's going to be basically taking a look at the field and figuring out where things are going. He is the person that's basically translating the plays that are either on his wrist or from the sidelines and making those key battle decisions out there. And when you have two people that might have two different philosophies out there, you're going to create a schizoid type of team, and you're going to have a team that's not going to go anywhere. Same type of situation when you have running back by committee. We saw that very, very, we're seeing that right now with Pittsburgh. Is it Redmond? Is it Dwyer? Is it Mendenhall? All three of these guys are equally impressive. All three of these guys laid the ball on the ground multiple times against Cleveland. Okay, do we punish one because, oh, God, he laid the ball down on the ground? No. It's not the right thing to do. People have bad games. What happens here is you create divisions within your team. The word team is an acronym. Together, everybody achieves more. And the key thing is together. Mm-hmm. Not separate.
Let's wrap up this conversation by saying this. If you are a believer that Alex Smith deserves his job back at this point because he is the proven veteran, hey, he's got to be at least considered. He's throwing 70% completion this year. He's got 13 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. So you got to at least think about it. Yeah. But if you're thinking about that, keep this in mind. If that's the way you feel, Ben Roethlisberger would not have been the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh. He only got in there when Tommy Maddox got hurt, and he won the job at that point. Same way, you would not have a Tom Brady. Tom Brady got in there because Drew Bledsoe got injured, was out a couple games. Tom Brady won the job, kept the job, and even kept it through his own injury in the NFL playoffs. So think about that the situation that Kaepernick is in right now is the exact situation that gave Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady, who are elite quarterbacks in the NFL, their actual jobs. Enough is enough. Well, let's keep on that track of elite quarterbacks because this is something that Alex and I know have debated extensively. What actually qualifies as an elite quarterback? Because your definition versus my definition versus some Joe Schmo in California's definition of an elite quarterback is so different. I mean, one of the guys who I would claim as an elite quarterback, some people, probably a majority of people in this country, would say ought to be benched. What do you define, Alex, as an elite quarterback?
To me, I have very high standards for elite quarterback. Elite quarterback is someone who's at the top statistically in the NFL, someone who can win, someone who can lead, someone who has won Super Bowls. For example, I think Eli Manning's a decent quarterback. He seems to have like this clutch thing going on in big games, 2 Super Bowls, but I wouldn't necessarily put him at elite status. I think, for me, elite status is a very small group of people like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, obviously Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. I don't even know if I necessarily put Ben Roethlisberger up there, but he's kind of close. So for someone like a Tony Romo, who I think is just disaster when it counts, I would not put up there. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't be starting. I'm not saying he's not a decent quarterback. I just do not think he's elite, and I don't think he's a winner or a leader.
I think, kind of paralleling what Alex is saying here, my definition of an elite quarterback has to fall under the question, your team is down by 6 points. You have a minute left on the clock. do you trust your quarterback to win you that game? If you say yes, you have an elite quarterback. An elite quarterback is somebody who has proven themselves in those types of situations many times over. Eli Manning has done that. Peyton Manning has done that. Aaron Rodgers has done that. Drew Brees has done that. And yes, Ben Roethlisberger has done that. That is my definition of an elite quarterback. The numbers take care of themselves. It's the leadership and the teamwork that makes, and the good decision-making to boot, that makes that person an elite quarterback. You have to have good decision-making, you have to have leadership, and you have to have the faith of the team behind you that they will do anything in the world to make this thing happen. And all those quarterbacks that I mentioned, their team would lay themselves down to take care of business with
Now,
them.
Dodson, tell me why Tony Romo's a winner. Tell me why he's a leader.
All right, I'm following my definition of elite quarterback based very closely on what Greg said. And when you think of somebody who you're going to trust to win you that game in the last 2 minutes, the two names that will pop up the most because they've done it the most in recent history is Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. Now, here's what I look at. Ben Roethlisberger has had by far, well, maybe not by far, but very close to by far, the worst offensive line around him. He has no time to do anything, yet somehow he avoids the big rush and he makes a big play to receivers who really are not big-name receivers. He makes plays to guys like Emmanuel Sanders, who we never hear of until all of a sudden he does it. Mike Wallace was a nobody until he won a game on a game-winning touchdown his rookie year. Here's the thing with Eli Manning. He, yes, has the most fourth quarter or overtime game-winning drives. You know what most of those have come from? And you can go back and research it. Most of them come off of a pathetic turnover by the other team, and I'm thinking like the Dallas game earlier this year where Felix Jones fumbles it away and the Giants recover it in field goal range or 10 yards away from it. Eli Manning gets him down 10 yards by running the ball, giving it to his running back, and they kick a game-winning field goal, and that counts as a game-winning drive. To me, Eli Manning is a good quarterback. He has had 2 good games in his career. They both happen to be in the Super Bowl, and they both happen to come thanks to miraculous catches by his wide receivers. They were, well, the first one against the Patriots with Tyree was not a very well-thrown ball. The second one was thrown in a place where only his receiver could get it, and he made a good play. Those are the 2 good games I can see. I see too many stretches where Eli Manning looks like he has no idea what he is doing, and I picture that with 4 games in a row this year where he didn't throw a touchdown pass. That bothers me so much in terms of being a so-called elite quarterback. Now, why Tony Romo is an elite quarterback is the fact that he puts up the numbers and the stats and the production that he does when he is on his backside more often than not because he has an offensive line that is, pardon another food reference, it is more holy than Swiss cheese. It is ridiculous how bad his offensive line is, yet he still is able to get the job done. Yeah. And the thing is, by the end of the year, his offensive line is so decimated by injury, even more than it began the season, that he doesn't win the games down the stretch. Because as a quarterback, Greg said it is about a team. Together, everyone accomplishes more. Your team is not going to accomplish more when you can't keep your quarterback jersey clean.
But on the same token,
that makes him elite.
You put Ben Roethlisberger in that situation that they have in Dallas, and Ben Roethlisberger is going to do what he has done in Pittsburgh.
Agreed, and that's why I consider him an elite quarterback. And I think if you put Tony Romo in pretty much any other system across the country right now where he has at least a decent offensive line, that he is going to be an elite quarterback, no doubt in my mind.
But he's not an elite quarterback under the system that he's at. So that basically states, well, under your argument, that he's not an elite quarterback. He needs to have a decent offensive line to get him to where he's at.
You're giving him the title elite quarterback because he might be able to do something better in a certain situation, not because of what he's done, but because of something he might be able to do. But yeah, he's been in the league since 2003 and has done nothing.
Thank you.
Because he's never had anybody who can protect him
It
at all.
doesn't matter. He still hasn't done it. You can't brand someone elite quarterback if they might be able to do something else. You brand them elite because of what they have done.
I think he is more talented than half of the guys that we just named as elite quarterbacks. No doubt in my mind. The fact of the matter is, a quarterback especially is based off the people around him. How many drop passes has Romo had this year versus how many has Tom Brady had this year? How much better has Tom Brady's offensive line been over the years than Tony Romo's? That's the thing I'm talking about. That you cannot compare. You can't compare quarterbacks from one team to another based off that, because all the contributing factors are so huge. The same way why you can't compare a wide receiver's production based on whether he has a rookie quarterback who ran the option in college versus a seasoned veteran like a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady who throws it 50 times a game. You cannot compare apples to oranges.
So he's an elite quarterback because he has a bad offensive line and his wide receivers drop passes.
No, that's not the reason. The reason is that he shows those flashes of brilliance time and time again, and he gets let down by his teammates more often than not.
Well, is it really everything but him? Is it honestly everyone but Tony Romo? How about that missed fumble that missed field goal? Remember, he was out there trying to hold down for the kick. He missed it. I think it was against Seattle. I can't remember. How about not even being able to prove anything in terms of playoff appearances, anything like that?
I think what's happening here, we're not questioning whether or not Tony Romo has heart. This guy he's got the heart of a champion, no doubt about it. But he has underperformed on a yearly basis.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying
And if we put Tony Romo in a number 7 uniform behind the center of Pittsburgh, he would still be what he's always has been. And Pittsburgh would not win because Tony Romo needs something just a little bit more. And it's not a knock on the guy. He's an above-average quarterback. He's got the heart of a champion. He's got the stats to prove. But you know what? So did Brett Favre. Brett Favre was a good quarterback, but he definitely wasn't elite.
And as soon as you move Brett Favre away from somewhere where he had a solid offensive line, all of a sudden he can't do anything anymore.
Yeah, but by that same logic, you could say Tim Tebow is an elite quarterback because he might be able to do something special in New England.
Right. Well, you know what? You can't say that. Tim Tebow's a nice guy. He's got a heart of a champion. He'll go out there and try to move heaven and earth and maybe even get God to help him a little bit. But you know what? He's not an elite quarterback. And it's okay to be not an elite quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not saying Tony Romo's not the guy in Dallas. I mean, I think he's a pretty decent quarterback. For me, you got to be able to do it first. I can't presume you're an elite quarterback because of what you might be able to do in better circumstances.
Exactly. And with that said, I think enough is enough with this elite quarterback crap.
You're right. Enough is enough because you cannot compare them because if you were to shuffle anybody around to a different team, if you put someone like Roethlisberger in Jacksonville or put him in even, say New England, he might not do as well because of the people around him. You put Tony Romo in New York with the Giants, or you put him out in San Diego with the Chargers, and he can be a completely different guy based off of the personnel around him. You can say that for any position, any player in any team, and I think that's why this quality of elite, not just quarterback, but any position, really is garbage.
You don't need necessarily to be an elite quarterback to lead your team to a Super Bowl. You can win a Super Bowl with a great or a decent quarterback. It's obviously great to have an elite quarterback, but at the end of the day, it's a team thing. I don't need Ben Roethlisberger to be an elite quarterback. I just need him to do his job and help the Steelers win a championship.
Yeah.
Thing with Tony
Well,
Romo.
look at the Ravens and the Bucks.
Boys to win a Super Bowl. He doesn't have to be elite.
Yep. Look at the Ravens and the Buccaneers, what they did. Look at the Redskins when they won their 3 titles. They had no-name quarterbacks.
Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's my point exactly. So it just, you don't need it. You don't need it. Helpful. Don't get me wrong, helpful. I'd rather have it. But people shouldn't be debating over my quarterback's more elite than yours. It should be all about the team. My team beat your team. My team won the Super Bowl this year. Beat your team in the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, and you want to talk about who we just named as the potential elites. We said for sure probably Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers would probably be the ones we might consider elite right now. Do we agree with that?
And Roethlisberger.
And throw Roethlisberger in there if we want to.
I put him borderline.
Put him.
No, there's no borderline. You either got it or you don't, and he's proven that he hasn't. So give it to him.
All right, let's give it to him. Say we do that. Let's look at that. Brady has 3 Super Bowl rings. Roethlisberger has 2. Those other 3 elite guys have 1 each.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't even say it based off of winning championships as being elite. And that's where I think I have enough is enough with naming Eli Manning as an elite quarterback because he has 2 rings. I think that's where that really becomes a garbage issue.
I wouldn't name him or Roethlisberger elite. I definitely think they're clutch quarterbacks. But you gotta have all 3 things to me. You gotta be a great quarterback in the playoffs, and you gotta win a Super Bowl. And you gotta be a leader. To me, it's those 3 things. So not everyone has it. So it's no big deal. It's no big deal in my opinion.
Not everybody has it, but those who have it do well with it. Moving on. One of the headlines on the NFL.com. Cowboys fans petition President Obama to oust Jerry Jones. Your thoughts?
I don't necessarily blame them. I mean, come on. I mean, your Cowboys have now, only been in the playoffs a handful of times since they beat my Steelers in the Super Bowl. For being America's team, they seem to be so hyped up every year with all that talent, and it just kind of falls short. And why is that? Is it because Jerry Jones is the general manager? I don't know. I'm no Cowboys insider, but from everything I'm hearing, whether it be ESPN or from reading something online, he needs to let his coaches coach.
You know, it says right here in the Dallas Morning News, it reported Monday that a man from Fort Benning, Georgia, has petitioned President Barack Obama to remove Jones from the power over the Cowboys organization. Five have been oppressed by an over-controlling, delusional, oppressive dictator for way too long.
Okay.
Request the executive branch's immediate assistance in removal of owner and GM Jerry Jones. His incompetence and ego have not only been an extreme disappointment for way too long, but moreover, it has caused extreme mental and emotional duress. What's really interesting about this, 412 U.S. citizens have signed this petition. Now, in order to get President Obama to act on it, he needs they need to get 24,588 more signatures for him to actually look at that seriously. But let's just talk about this here. I mean, you know, these are also people that want the state of Texas to secede from the Union and the whole bit. But, you know, Jerry Jones and owners like Jerry Jones, like, you know, the Dan Snyders of the world, you know, they've gone way too far in basically, you know, not letting the coaches coach. And you've just got too much fracturing within the team itself where you don't have a cohesive organization in order to make things happen. And that's why I have to say, hey, you know, guys, enough is enough here.
The reason, guys, that the Cowboys have such issues is in terms of the personnel. Yeah, they have all those stars, Alex, but they have the stars at the quarterback, at the defensive backs, and at the wide receiver position. They do not have it where it matters most, and that's in the trenches. That's why they lead the league in holding calls every year. That's why they almost lead the league in sacks every year. But beyond that, that's beside the point. In terms of Jerry Jones, I like somebody like him. I like somebody like Mark Cuban who is so invested in their team that they want to do everything that they can do. But yes, they need to know that, you know, there are probably some people out there who are a little bit more knowledgeable about the game of football or the game of basketball or whatever than you are. But here's more than anything what enough is enough out of this entire thing. Somebody really made a petitioning Barack Obama to do something like this. Fanship and trying to control your team and thinking that you have a direct output on your team's performance, that's where enough is enough. I'm sick of hearing these things about stupid petitions going on, trying to get rid of owners. This isn't the first time that I've heard of it for a professional sports franchise. But petitioning the president, that's, you know what, the only thing I've heard recently that's worse than that is Ohio State trying to petition the president to have their sanctions removed so that their undefeated team this year can be considered national champions. I'm sick of this. You've paid the price. You know what you have. You, the fan, cannot control what is happening with your team. Stop trying. Stop it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you can't let fans get into, obviously, making personnel decisions or business decisions, things like that. I mean, I do agree Jerry Jones needs to let his coaches coach and let the general manager be a general manager. But I think you're going really out of your way if you're a fan, if you're trying to write a letter to the president from the United States, for God's sake. Don't you have anything better to do with your life? Now, me, obviously, I'm working on something to try and sway Steve Peterson that's going on at Pitt. But I'm not writing a letter to the president. I'm not going out of my way and demanding he resign. So,
and that's it right there, Alex. You're talking to the actual people who are in charge of the situation that you want to change. You're not trying to go above him by going and talking to the president of the NCAA or the president of the United States or the president of the United Nations or I don't even think I have a president. But you know what I mean. You're talking to the actual person who is in control of this. You're not trying to go and petition somebody else to change it. That's irksome to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just goes back to reality and people not having a firm grasp on it. And, it's sort of like that fan that ran out in the field and embraced the New York Mets players when the New York Mets pitched that no-hitter last summer. And he got banned from the stadium for life because it was an inappropriate gesture on his part. We want those types of fans at 360 Sports Network. You know, if you're that passionate that you feel that you have to go to the President of the United States to remove the owner of your team, come see us. I want you to contribute to us because we, as a fan-controlled group, can move mountains if we do it the right way.
Yeah, we want those passionate fans. I mean, we want it to be done correctly, though.
Right.
We want the passion. We want the passion. We love the passion, but we want it done correctly. Petitioning the president may not be the correct way to do it. We love your passion. We love it, but
enough is enough.
Why though?
All righty, folks. On that note, we're going into Week 13. Playoffs begin Week 14. Batten down the hatches, boys. It's going to be a windy one out there. On that note, I'm the Mad Scientist. Have a good evening.